I am sorry about that, guys. I got interrupted like a minute into my video. My boyfriend called, and sounds like he's very frustrated. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, what I was saying, basically, Oliver's there with most of his team. The only one not there is Ragman, and from what I'm guessing Rory did not want to join up in this mission, mainly because in the last episode, Felicity did tell Rory that his home Haven Rock was not the intended target of the missile that Damien Dark had. It was actually her fault. She was the one that diverted the missile to hit Haven Rock instead because she wanted minimal casualties. So basically, Felicity told her, yeah, the reason why you're the last survivor of Haven Rock is because of me. I diverted the missile that killed everyone and you're the last survivor, right? And when they get back, obviously they have a little trouble with this, capturing this associate of Church because Oliver tells them that it's Artemis' shot. And Wild Dog, being Wild Dog, starts shooting at the dude. Of course, Artemis, because of that, ends up missing the shot, and Curtis had to try to stop him, but gets his butt kicked. Oliver had to step in and take down Church's associate and leave him in the loot to SCPD. And Oliver shows up and he sees Rory upstairs in the mayor's office and everything. He ends up quitting the team because he cannot work with Felicity. He admits to Oliver that Felicity admitted to him that Haven Rock was her fault and that he can't stand working on a team because every time he sees her, it just reminds him of what he lost, right? So he unfortunately quits the team. And Lila shows up. Of course, the team leaves not the team, but after capturing that associate of Church's, Oliver's like telling the team take a break, and he's down in the lair with Felicity, and they talk about what happened with Rory. And then Lila shows up, and Felicity finds out that Oliver and Lila are planning to break Diggle out of a freaking a military prison. Of course, Felicity is totally against this, right? She's like, no, he did not want to. First off, you're breaking him out, even though he said he didn't want to break out. Really? Right? So she's freaking out over this. I don't really blame her, because I'd freak out too. Because this is a military prison we're talking about, right? This is that's top notch right there. And the loot that Church's associate had, Quentin, and that one guy, Adrian, remember I told you in the comic books, he's actually he's one of the people that took the name Vigilante. But like, Quentin and Adrian, they personally delivered that loot that was stolen from that associate. They personally delivered the loot to the SCPD evidence room. Unfortunately, turns out that thing was not what it seemed. But before I get into that, Felicity, because she's totally against Oliver and Lila breaking Diggle out of prison, she actually sends, the three members of the team, Artemis, Wild Dog, and Mr. Terrific, to try to stop him. And then there's like a beatdown because they're like, we can't allow you to do this. If you're gone, who's going to train us and all that stuff and everything. And the cute thing is they attempt to fight him. No bueno. You know what I mean? Because Oliver just beats the crud out of them and just drives off on a motorcycle. It's like, oh my god, Oliver, what are you doing? Because when I saw that, I was like, And then, we got Lila on comms. Oliver's infiltrating a federal prison. They end up going there. They end up sneaking in. Of course, Oliver has to take some people out. And then when Oliver locates Diggle's cell, Diggle's not there. And apparently they're all in a room. All the prisoners are in a room, apparently. I don't know why. But Lila's like, Oliver asks Lila when he's to get back to his cell. It's like outside our time window, because apparently they're like on a time limit, right? And so the only way to get Diggle into his cell is to cause some sort of commotion that will apparently like code yellow or something like that, and it makes pretty much all the prisoners go back to their cells. So that's what pretty much happens. Oliver managed to knock one of the soldiers out and then tie him up, and another soldier ends up seeing him. They activate code yellow, and all the prisoners end up being sent back to their cells, right? While that is happening, like I said earlier, Quentin and Adrian personally deliver the loot that was stolen from one of Associates of Church to the SCPD evidence room, and it turns out that that little loot turns out to be actually a disguised bomb, and it actually goes off, pretty much harming Quentin and Adrian, not badly harming, but, they get hurt, and the explosion apparently was supposed to allow Church and his group to break in to the SCPD and steal a bunch of weapons and equipment from them. So that was the reason why. Because for the longest time in the episode, they're like, why would they just steal something so small from Cord Industries, which is the thing that they stole in the beginning of the episode. And they thought it was weird that it was just a small little item which you could easily get from other stores, right? Turns out it was just a ruse. They wanted it to get caught, and they wanted it to be sent to the SCPD because it's actually a bomb. Back to Oliver, when Diggle's sent back into his cell, Oliver surprises him because he was hiding out in the cell, right? He's like, gotta sneak you out and all that stuff. They end up having like a deep, not really a long conversation, but they have a deep talk between each other, saying, you gotta shape up. In a way, it's kind of telling him, I get that you're guilt-ridden over your brother. I'm guilt-ridden over a lot of people I killed and all that stuff. They have this moment together where they talk about, Diggle's guilt to the point where Oliver finally convinces Diggle to escape, right? So Oliver has this cool mist thing that ends up eating away at the floor, and they end up escaping through the sewer system. Unfortunately, as they're outside the prison, they get surrounded by army guys with guns, and all of a sudden, though, Oliver, he has like a harness attached to the both of them, and he's like, Diggle, don't move, and all of a sudden they get hoisted away by that aircraft, the aircraft being piloted by none other than Lila herself, which I thought was pretty freaking cool. How, Lila managed to, get these guys out of there, which I thought was pretty cool. Nice, Mission Impossible moment right there, which I thought was pretty interesting. Back with the team, Felicity actually manages to track down Rory and, try to attempt to reconcile with him. He doesn't seem to be budging. Well, in my opinion, when I saw it, he didn't seem to budge. But then, Felicity gets a phone call from Curtis because of the whole explosion thing, and she decides to send the rest of the team, Wild Dog, Artemis, and Mr. Terrific. They're kind of hesitant, especially Artemis. She's like, we don't have Oliver. Are you sure this is a bad idea? And we don't even have Rory. And the cool thing was, apparently whatever Felicity said to Rory actually did get to him, because he ends up showing up with the team saying, we've got to do this. We got to help, even with Oliver not here. We've got to help these people. So the four of them together end up going over to the SCPD. Apparently they find out the reason why Church, broke into the SCPD and took all the weapons and equipment is because they're planning to have an assault to assault the SCPD's anti-crime unit, which is where Adrian is actually interrogating the guy, one of Church's guys, the one that Oliver's team took out in the beginning of the episode. So all four of them end up showing up there where the anti-crime unit is, and they help everyone inside escape the attack, and it's just four of them and I believe Church. And unfortunately, Curtis gets a freaking throwing knife on his back, and he is obviously injured. And so, Renee, Wild Dog, he does something really heroic, because he tells him, get Curtis out of there. Get out of there now. I'll deal with this. I'll give you enough time. And so, we see freaking Wild Dog versus Church going toe-to-toe, which is freaking awesome, by the way. And, Quentin shows up to get the rest of the team. Unfortunately, they're like, we can't leave Renee behind, but Felicity tells them we have no choice. Otherwise, you're all gonna get captured and get killed. So Quentin drives off with Artemis and injured Curtis and Ragman. And of course, everyone that was in there escaped, right? With the exception of poor Wild Dog, Renee. And unfortunately, they find out that Church, in fact, captured Renee, and he's intending to torture him to death. Which is unfortunate for Renee, because he did the one amazing heroic thing that made me actually like him, you know what I mean? It's like, he was willing to put himself in danger to get his injured teammate out of there, you know what I mean? Which I thought was really heroic, and it made me really like Wild Dog even more. He was kind of a D-bag earlier because he never listened to Oliver and all that stuff. He always butted heads with everybody, but to see him, you know, Curtis injured and all that stuff, and seeing his team in danger, the fact that he's like, I'll stay behind and fight this guy, you guys get out of there, especially since Curtis is injured, it made me love Wild Dog. Renee, he got my respect just for that move. But Oliver ends up returning because he finds out from Felicity what happened, and he vows to do whatever it takes to rescue Renee and make sure he doesn't get killed. And when he goes back to his mayor office where Thea, Quentin, and Adrian are, we also find out that Adrian, because of what happened, because he was there during when Oliver's team rescued them, it gave him a new light about vigilantes, because in the beginning he didn't like vigilantes doing the work for them and all that stuff. He didn't want to depend on them too much, and seeing how they rescued him and the others at the anti-crime unit, it gave him a new light on them, and he decides, you know, to trust the vigilante motives, you know what I mean? Which I thought was pretty cool, especially since I know in the comics, Adrian does in fact take up the name Vigilante. He's one of the, I think, 2 or 3 people that have the name Vigilante in the comics. So I really want him to be Vigilante, guys. I really, really do. But anyway, also, back to Diggle. Oliver takes Diggle and Lila to a Hive safe house, you know, since technically now he's a wanted fugitive, because the reason why he was in jail is because he was framed for something he didn't do, and then apparently now he's broken out of jail, so now he's a wanted fugitive, right? So, yeah, Oliver ends up taking him and Lila to a Hive safe house, you know, to keep him safe, and of course Lila, because we all know there's people that probably know about Lila being his wife and all that stuff, right? So obviously that family's gonna be stuck there in the safe house for a while. But anyway, overall this episode was cool. I like seeing the team work together and, you know, without Oliver. And I like this heroic moment that Renee has, especially when Curtis gets injured. They resolved the Felicity Rory thing pretty quickly. I thought that was going to be drawn out a little more, but I'm glad that, you know, they decided to, you know, I'm glad that they decided to work it out, but I thought it was pretty fast how easily they, you know, worked it out like that. But I like the fact that, you know, they're speaking again and the Rory's back on the team, because I did not want him to leave the team. When I heard in the beginning when he quit, I was like, no, I like you, right? But seeing them, like, you know, patch things up, and at the same time they have a moment together also. I like that, you know. It was a really good, nice thing to see, and it's good to see Diggle out of prison, but I'm kind of sad that, you know, now that he's technically a fugitive, he shouldn't be a fugitive. It's freaking Diggle, you know. He's like the poster boy of goodness. You know what I mean? He's like the Captain America of this show. He's like never done anything bad. You know what I mean? And the fact that he ends up he leaves the team only to be, and he goes back into military only to be framed for something he's never done, to the point where he's forced to break out of jail and now become a wanted fugitive. It's like, it sucks for Diggle. And now him and Lila, and most likely their son, John Jr., they're gonna be in the safe house. They can't go anywhere, you know, and it sucks. But I really, really hope they don't kill Renee, because especially since he had a really good moment, you know, letting himself stay behind to help his friends escape. I thought that was an amazing moment. I'm not gonna get too much into the flashback, because I didn't really care much for it. It just showed mainly more stuff that Oliver had to do in order to become official Bratva. So I'm not gonna get too much into it. But I really like this episode, and I'm really looking forward to the next one, because I'm kind of scared. I saw the preview and it showed that Oliver gets shot, and he's like in mayor outfit and everything, so I'm kind of scared. So anyway, I don't want anything to happen to Oliver, obviously, but I really don't want anything to happen to Renee, because that would suck. I was actually starting to like him in this episode. But anyway, this is my reaction rant to Arrow Season 5, Episode 4, titled Penance. See you, BootTube.